flavor and seasoning with Spectral Knights tossed into there. And it's only one Savage Roar, which is an interesting flair, once again, to kind of cut back somewhere and utilize double Force of Nature, but not double Forces or double Savage Roar.
And one Argent Squire. It's pretty interesting. Like he did cut one Argent Squire and one Savager instead of like cutting both Squires and using double Savager. But well, if he feels comfortable with this deck, I guess it's okay. The Spectral Knights are definitely a strong addition to the deck where you want to play a very strong drop every turn. And well, we've seen them work, and they work really well against the Miracle Rogue. And Reynad is playing a Miracle Rogue this time. So what do you think? Like, who is favorite in this matchup? I would have to give it to Lucky. It's he has the Spectral Knights. He has a very fast token druid. So I feel like he has a slight advantage here.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like Reynad's fighting two battles against Luck in a way, or Lucky, where he's fighting one both in the game and outside the game. And I think it really depends on his mindset here, whether or not he's able to kind of stabilize after some really tantalizing losses, just considering the way he lost to Savitz, how close the series was versus Forsen. He is not happy with how his performance has been. But you know what? In the end, I think he played some pretty decent games despite being unlucky. And now he starts off pretty well with the Gadget Stand and the Coin into a matchup where if you get that kind of good start and you're able to stabilize the board, I think you're doing all right.
Yeah, this is definitely a good start from Reynad. On the other hand, Lucky wants to mulligan Violet Teacher. This is really interesting. Like, what else can you get? It's like, do you really want to get that Harvest Golem? But what's the chance? And Violet Teacher seems pretty strong, especially as a follow-up to Haunted Creeper. So fortunately, he decided to actually keep the Violet Teacher. But yeah, this game can go either way with Reynad having the part of the combo and a coin and Shiv and backstab. So he will be able to fight back the Haunted Creeper with backstab and a weapon. On the other hand, there is a Power of the Wild on Lucky's side. Pretty strong card. If he's able to get an Innervate, and he gets a turn free card as well, this will be an interesting match.
Yeah, the early game seems to be panning out very nicely for Lucky, dropping minions in sequence and being able to buff it up. That's the game plan for Token Druid, just draw into combo. He even has Ancient of Lore, so if he's overextending slightly, he's able to immediately address it. Reynad, of course, he's going to just be playing a slap fight, basically. There's nothing really going to be much coming up for a while, so he's going to use his removal effectively and wait for bigger threats until he can able to drop his gadgets in.
Yeah, the spiders are so annoying. I guess instead of like dealing damage, you have to deal with the board, and you can't leave anything on the druid side of the board because those Power of the Wild, Savage Roars and stuff. And Lucky's playing only one Savage Roar, and he already got it. So I guess he was lucky here.
I suppose so. It makes sense. You often use Force of Nature as removal, so you might have more liberty to use it, but you don't necessarily always have two uses of Savage Roar unless you already have board control early on. So I can understand that cut there. All right, Lucky seems to have gotten the Wrath, so that way he can continue to address on the board. But I like pushing out something like the Violet Teacher here.
Oh yeah, definitely. Violet Teacher is a strong addition here. I wonder if Reynad has actually a way to clear the Violet Teacher next turn. He will be able to deal two damage to it. Then does he have 3 points of damage in his hand just out of nothing?
Not off of what I see. Nope, doesn't look like it. So it seems as if he's just going to try to Shiv and draw a card then. See what he picks up. A Preparation, which is important synergy with Gadget Sand. Although,
this is an
interestingly enough, even if he has Preparation, he doesn't have a card to follow that up with other than Blade Flurry.
But now Lucky has a very sick turn with like Wrath into Power of the Wild, just building a very strong board. And Reynad doesn't have the Deadly Poison to be able to combo it out with the Flurry. But even with a Deadly Poison and Flurry, he will clear the tokens only. The Violet Teacher will still remain.
Yep, this is a strong board for the Druid and basically the dream, especially when you have the Savage Roar in hand, ready to go to potentially end the game. Reynad's coming up on some important turns mana-wise, and that is a card that you can synergize with the Preparation. You also can use the SI7 agent, but how does Reynad want to kind of approach this?
It's so tough because it seems like he has all the cards in his hand, but not really. Because what do you even play here? You can't play Gadgetzan into preparation into what? Like you're not doing anything, so you can't play Gadgetzan this turn. If you want to use SI7 as free mana, so you kind of want to enable the combo first. But what do you really do? Like, do you preparation Shiv, like Thalnos preparation Shiv SI7 to kind of clear the board and leave the 4/6 only? But this is really wasteful, just using all the spells, almost all the spells you have. But
You can use
this,
Shiv without having to spell power it and use preparation. You can just Shiv and then use your own face to trade into a 2/2 and then SI7. But you're still at the mercy of your opponent. So if he follows up with removal and then keeps pressuring you, you're back at square one where you don't have an answer directly. He's going for the Shiv play.
and he's getting roped.
Oh,
He gets a
he has
sap.
sap.
Sap is great.
And now he's finally able to squeeze everything out and be able to control the board. And Reynad, I mean, he's been getting roped a lot in this tournament, but it seems like he did make it this turn. But once again, cutting it close, a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, but still, that sub was so important. He was actually able to deal with the board because of that. So that was a good gamble with the Shiv. So being
So yeah,
lucky, what do you
certainly.
do?
I think you just kind of go back and start again. I don't really like pressing here with something like swipe. So I think you just kind of load up and continue to go back to the drawing board.
I feel like you play Violet Teacher and you still and you kill the SI7. What if you were really closely watching what your opponent was doing? It would seem like your opponent had a problem with removing the 3/5. So yeah, definitely a good play.
All right, Reynad going up on another important opportunity to maybe combo off Gadget Sand if he can pick up the spells. Whoa, second Gadget Sand.
He has no spells. He has
Yeah,
double Gadgetzan and there are no spells. So do you Gadgetzan and Shadow Step your Gadgetzan?
that I think you have to. There's nothing else to do. This is a rare scenario where you have too many Gadget Sands and not enough spells. Wow, preparation coming in the improper order. So Reynad gets the draw, but he gives up 6 damage,
He
and
gets
now
the
Lucky has
combo.
pieced together the combo.
Oh my god, this is so important. Wait, it's like turn 8. How much damage can he deal this turn? It's like 3, getting him to 18. He actually, if he swipes, he basically can swipe next turn. It looks so bad for Reynad right now. Lucky can just play Ancient of Lore and draw cards, and then next turn, and then just attack, and next turn he can just swipe face to set him up. Oh my god, double swipe. This
Oops.
is so devastating. Uh,
Reynad needs a lot here in order to survive the next couple of turns.
I was not kidding about that Savage Roar. He actually got lucky that he got it, because now he's looking pretty good for a win on turn 9. And this is basically what you want to do versus Miracle Rogue. Like, you want to threaten them, you want to deal the damage so that they are not able to deal anything and set up the board. And then just, if you keep the tempo, if you keep pressuring them, you just win. Turn 9. There are no
Yeah.
Farsies as well.
I'm
So I guess
thinking about what could Reynad do here in this position to potentially pull him out, but it does require a series of draws off this preparation. I think he's thinking too, and one of the dangers is how long Miracle Rogue takes to activate with timers. So I kind of recommend Reynad to kind of hurry up here.
you think he's getting roped again.
Oh no, I just don't want to see it. It's just painful because he has the opportunity to potentially squeeze out of situations, but unfortunately he's not given enough time, and he has to choose soon.
Maybe just weapon up and pass.
No, he's certainly not the answer. Let's see what he draws. He gets a conceal. He's gonna be playing SI7 for something, kind of again panicking a little bit. He might be drawing something good off of this conceal, but at
This
least he's
is
able to execute
this
that.
is actually Ethel. He's dead. He's dead at this exit moment.
Yeah, the Savage Roar seems to be enough to cover him at this moment.
Salvador swipe, and then that's it. It's 8
Savage
plus
Roar
6, 14,
6.
18. It's exactly 18 with Salvador
Mm-hmm.
and swipe.
All right, so Lucky has it. He just has to spot it.
He might be thinking about double swipe because he's thinking Savage Roar combo next turn. If you're really focused on the combo for turn 9, you might actually miss lethal here.
I think he's starting to see it though, piece it together, just making sure to count one more time, triple check. Don't want to overcommit and give it up. But at the same time, he has so much direct damage, it feels like it doesn't really matter because you have Swipe, Keeper of the Grove, Force of Nature to follow it up. So Lucky's going to take this game number 1 with
Yes,
plenty of gas in the tank.
exact lethal.
Also, Lucky dug through more of the deck than the Miracle Rogue player, which is something rare to see from Druid.
Yeah, just kind of like a useless card. So I would say Reynad has slight advantage with regards to the deck list, but here it's not about the deck list. It will be about who is able to actually stabilize the board, who gets Innervate, at what time, who gets Ancient of Lore. So this game can be about board control, but also it can be about the race. So it really depends what cards will both players get and what decisions they will make during the course of the game.
Completely agree. And, I think Lucky and Reynad realized that, well, hold on, thought. We have innervates on both ends. Interesting that they can kind of match each other toe for toe. When you have innervate, all of a sudden your mulligans become a little bit more distorted. How can you gain tempo against your opponent? Reynad keeps everything. Lucky thinking about keeping Karen because you can push him out early. You get really good value.
He also has a coin, which is pretty important. Then he will be able to play Kern on turn 3. And well, the best answer to Kern is Keeper of the Grove, but still, it's a 4/5 that just kills that Keeper in the next turn. It's a tricky thing because your deck is mostly about small minions, not just pushing the big minion turn 3.
Yeah, you want to kind of continue to build the board and not overinvest. Nice, though. Lucky picks up double Violet Teacher, which, again, synergizes with everything. And he top decks the Argent Squire. So it seems like his curve is going to even out really nicely.
Yeah, his deck looks pretty. His hand looks pretty nice right now. If he's able to get Power of the Wild at some point, also, that will be pretty devastating. But how do you play this? Like, do you I definitely think you don't force Karen. You just keep Karen for turn 6. So you start with Argent Squire. Maybe
innervate the Violet Teacher and then coin the Violet Teacher?
Yeah, definitely. That's super strong.
Okay, I like how that looks. And you even get a token throughout the entire process. Maybe you pick up Power of the Wild throughout the process. Oh, although Haunted Creeper now introduces another line that you can take and push out that early Cairn while putting Violet Teachers out anyways.
So Haunted Creeper turn 2, turn 3 Violet Teacher from the coin, and then Innervate Cairn on turn 4. Oh my god, this is also a sick lineup coming from Druid.
It's still difficult to deal with regardless of how you look at it.
Yeah, so many good options here. He might actually force Reynad to coin the Wrath.
Well, interestingly enough, if Reynad innervates the Lotheb, Lucky can't use his own innervate. So that way, Lotheb not only is able to seize control of the board, but it denies his opponent from gaining back any tempo.
He's going for a Violet Teacher play.
Okay.
He took his time. It's not an easy decision. You really have to think ahead. Like, what am I doing on turn 3, 4, 5, 6? Like, what's my game plan in this game with regards to decisions?
And what can my opponent do as well? And, he's accounting for all these possibilities. Now he sees the Druid of the Call being innervated out.
Oh, a Spectral Knight. But I feel like still you coined the Violet Teacher here.
I think so, too.
You probably can't deal with the 4/6. That might be annoying, but...
Like, interesting enough, I'm trying to feel like if he coins out Violet Teacher, how does that interact with Swipe? And I think that sets it up not completely cleanly, but you're able to take out most of the board, leaving just a 3/1.
Oh yeah, Swipe will be pretty strong here. Because you can attack with the 4/6 into 3/5, then swipe one of the 3/5s, and it looks pretty strong.
Yep. And I think that's definitely the play. So, Reynad, again, stabilizing a little bit. He takes out a Violet Teacher, which usually is a very important card to synergize with things like Power of the Wild. Lucky draws into a swipe, so he has a way to answer it. But then his board looks pretty weak if Reynad's able to answer it. very simply. And this is like the early turns that determine the entire outcome of the game for Druid versus Druid. The board control is so paramount to how these turns end up playing leading up into Ancient of Lore. People kind of automatically subjected to, well, whoever plays Ancient of Lore first wins. It's not always that simple. You have to make sure to plan it out so that way in the mid-game turns, when you have the opportunity to drop Ancient of Lore, you set yourself up to be successful in whatever you draw.
Definitely agree. So do you think like do you swipe here to just like clear, also get a token and still attack? Because you've seen swipe being used on the opponent's side.
You gain a token and you keep your Violet Teacher alive. So in some sense, you're improving the board state rather than just trading it in. You have a 3-1 and a 1-1 rather than a 1-2. And I think I can get behind that because assuming your opponent doesn't have a way to effectively deal with this, like say he has the Wrath and Hero Power, then that gives you a free board to play Spectral Knight. So I think this is a good assumption from Lucky. And Haunted Creeper isn't that impressive anyways when you put it on the board.
It's interesting that both of the players have Kern in their head, in their hand. So they like Kern is not a card you see often. Like I haven't seen it for some time, and because against Miracle Rogue, this card was just bad. Like on turn 6, you want to do something, and if you just drop Kern, it does nothing. Like well, you develop the board, but it doesn't matter because it gets sapped. But here, it seems like Kern will be actually an important card,
especially when the silence already has been used from the Keeper of the Grove. That's going to make Lucky much more confident to be able to answer it. But the most important thing is Reynad is on the 1 mana ahead of his opponent, and that's one of the advantages you have if you're trying to play more of a control game. And so Lucky's hand is not really improving that much. He's picking up minions that are losing power as turns go by.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it seems like his opening hand was insane with like double Violet Teacher, Innervate, Coin, Kern. Like it looked pretty good. And now is you have this 4/6 and you have no follow-up. I mean, you can play Kern still and maybe trade, maybe go for face, but it looks weird.
It looks difficult because his follow-up is going to be flooding with smaller minions, and Reynad's going to be coming up on much stronger, powerful turns. Speaking of it, he does have lots at his disposal that he can kind of play here. He can try to go for a little bit of the board control game, go for removal. He can play something like Ancient of Lore. How much is he afraid of something really crazy like a combo? I don't think so. You just go straight for it and see what you draw, gain the card advantage, and
It's a combo, exactly. Oh my god. This is a nice draw. Next turn, you just fool around, clear the board, and do stuff, and try to win on 9.
Well, next, not just fool around. I think Lotheb is a great way to follow it up the turn before you combo.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So now you probably have to clear. Definitely kill the 4/6, and well, you will have to leave Kern. The problem is that you might be thinking that he's dead to combo Innervate, but what are the odds? Like you already seen one Innervate. And then having Savage Roar, Force Nature, Innervate in 3 cards.
I don't know. Never say never. If you feel like you've been having a bad run in a tournament, ask Dark Wanix, who feels like at Well Played Cup, he just kept getting comboed out of every point of the game, no matter how much he was turning momentum. You know, Reynad also has really good board presence, but he doesn't have a lot of damage. He's put out 3 damage throughout the course of this game, so if his opponent's able to deal with the board in some capacity, then at the same time, it's not like he's done a lot of damage, so even combo might not fully kill his opponent, so he has to kind of be mindful of that as well.
How much damage can he deal right now with Savage Roar?
Let's see. Well, he tagged into Karen, so that helps.
So he has 10 points of damage, and with Savage Roar he gets
18.
Yeah, 19 with so it's not enough.
Hero power.
So I guess now he has to clear the board and play Lotheb. Can he clear the board effectively and set up himself for lethal next turn?
Well, Cairn kind of presents an interesting puzzle here. You can use your Bane plus your Ancient of Lore for the Wrath and then drop it, but then you leave up 2 minions. How likely is it that he didn't have... if he had combo with Innervate, he would have done it last turn. So I think Reynad can kind of just focus on removing a little bit, put out something like Lotheb, and really restrict his opponent's options.
I guess he can. Can he remove? I guess he has to remove a Harvest Golem. It's
You know,
so
he just
weird.
also could say, screw it, you have to answer my board, I have lethal next turn, and he is on the mana ahead. And that's what he's going for. Says, you
Just
know
going
what,
for a
I'm not even
face.
going to bother with it.
Yeah, the problem is like if there is a Savager. Okay, there is no Savager, but you could play around Savager a bit. Like just count how much damage Savager actually deals.
There's so many death rattles, though. You're fighting so inefficiently, just try to remove. And the Savage Roar, let's see, it would have cost 8 mana. It would have done 8 plus the, let's see, 7, 15. No, actually, he wouldn't have lost. It's just Savage Roar.
Are you saying that Lucky would be 1 damage off lethal?
He would be 1 damage off or 2 mana off if he drew like Innervate. No, but he couldn't have Innervate because Lothar makes it cost 5. So yeah, he is 1 damage off lethal.
But
Now,
Reynad
what can
has it.
Lucky do here?
I feel like there is nothing. Wait, it's like if Lucky kills anything, Reynad still has 14 points of damage in his hand. Like even if Lucky just clears the board, which is impossible, well, he'll probably heal 5. But still,
Yeah, he's
if
gonna have to do what he can to remove what's on the board, but there's still so much. There's 13 right here. 14.
yeah, that's it. Reynad has it. He
He-
even has the spots to actually like play force.
Yep.
Okay.
And he's alive in this series and will even it up 1-1. Forsen is cheering in the background because he realizes that, you know, every single loss, he doesn't want to potentially fall into good decisions overall. So I just like what he's brought to the tournament. It seems like everything in general is nice against the field. You know, Shaman's pretty good. It can 3-0 anything. And overall, it's pretty potent against most of these mid-range decks and control decks like Handlock as well as the Druid.
I feel like also Lothab is a pretty important card. We talk about it on turn 2 at some point. Like Lothab is a card that has a really high skill cap. Like you don't always play it on turn 5. You just keep it for the key turn. And when you play it, you really change the outcome of the game. So if you're able to play Lothab on turn 8 before Druid should kill you with the combo, and just lock them down so that they don't play any card, and then next turn you just push or stabilize or do anything, it will be a very important card. But we are here in the game seeing the mulligan now. Lucky is lucky and gets a coin.
Yeah, but Reynad gets the Innervate. So he has a quick start that he can kind of push out something that's really nice. Savage Roar isn't exactly what he wants to follow it up, but maybe that pays off later.
Definitely want to keep one at some point. So, and he has a Harvest Golem as well. So definitely, well, do you innervate Harvest Golem actually? Playing versus Shaman to just deal with the totems and stuff?
There was like an argument about this at DreamHack, wasn't there? Like innervating out the Harvest Golem. I think I remember listening to the cast and hearing about them discuss whether or not you innervate Harvest Golem against Shaman. And I think overall, I think it depended on your style, like what, and also depended on your opening hand. And I think if you have something like Lothab, like if you innervate Harvest Golem and you're hero powering for 3-4 turns afterwards, I think that's a pretty bad way to open. Because as much as you're controlling totems, you're not doing much after that.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty nasty. And like innervate can actually fit your fix your curve if you get like the high cost cards. So yeah, definitely just keep it.
Okay, now Lucky's gonna take the initiative and coin out the Haunted Creeper so that way he can be a little bit more mana efficient. What do you think about this?
I'm not sure if I like it that much, but his hand is really aggro-ish with Flametongue Totems. And he will definitely play Flametongue next turn, so...
All right, well, Reynad picks up a nice 4-drop. The Violet Teacher is very good to start things off, and it's not easy for Shaman to remove it unless they spend a little bit inefficient amount of cards. The Ruby and Egg, a very important pickup with something like Flametongue Totem, so Lucky does have ways to kind of continue to pressure the board.
Yeah, I feel like Nerubian here is pretty good. Like you don't have to really remove Violet Teacher on turn 2. On turn 3, there can be a follow up with a spell. Power of the Wild will be devastating, but well, you're fine. And if you play Flametongue Totem next turn, he will be just able to kill it just next turn and get a 4/4 and a Flametongue and also Spiders. And with another Flametongue next turn, we are looking at a very strong board. And Reynad doesn't have a swipe right now, so It looks pretty good for Lucky.
But Reynad also hedges his bets a little bit against Flame Tongue Totem, and it's gonna kill off the spider. So that way, it's not the effective. Well, it's not the 100% clean kill, and you do have to spend a little bit more in order to seize control back. And also, Lucky picks up the Unbound, but it's not exactly the safest board to kind of drop it on and expect it to live, because then it plays into swipe, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely Flame Tongue Totem is a good drop here. Also, the fact that Reynad attacked into Spider enables Lucky to kill the Harvest Golem as well. Because now he has 3 minions that can possibly deal damage.
Right. Well, that's a little unfortunate for Reynad, but at the same time, regardless of how he kind of approached the situation, he was going to get traded for value with Flame Tongue Totem, and that's why Haunted Creeper has improved a lot of the early game for a deck like Shaman.
He will be able to answer the 4/4 Nerubian with attack from the small Harvest Golem and also the Keeper of the Grove. But still, if his board is cleared, it doesn't look that good for him.
Well, trades for days, and now he puts out a 6/4 with the 2/1. But again, if he has a swipe, if he got the swipe, that would have been pretty disgusting.
Double Savager is pretty weird because he turns kind of into a shaman now with a Bloodlust. It's like you have those cards, but you really have to have the board. So he has Lothab. Basically, Lothab is a very good turn 5 card, but you want to keep it for the key turn. But he might not have a choice, and he will have to play it on turn 5.
Yeah, if he picks up something like Force of Nature, then his hand is just essentially waiting for some kind of late game burst, and he has to play something like Lothab.
Being lucky here, what do you do? It doesn't look that good, actually.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not pretty because you feel like this Flame Tongue Totem, there's no way to protect it, and rolling a totem is extremely passive and almost gets nothing done whatsoever. So I think the Unbound is the best course of action.
Do you shapeshift instead of playing Lothab here? And can you actually Savage Roar? You can actually Savage Roar and shapeshift. It's not bad. And then you attack into a 0 free totem. Yeah, it's a pretty nice play, especially because you have double Savage Roar. So use it as a removal card, and you still have a minion. So yeah, it was a pretty good play from Reynad.
I think it's good just because, like you mentioned, Lothab timing is crucial in order to completely throw off your opponent, especially a spell-dependent class like Shaman that has so much of removal.
Yeah, definitely. Just play YOLOing Lothab as LOL Thab on turn 5 wouldn't do anything. And the Shaman has a lot of removal anyway, so...
It's like, put your sunglasses on and say, deal with it, Lothab on turn 5.
Yeah. And basically counter the hand. That would be so sick. Just countering
there's nothing
the
he
hand.
can do. Just Flame Tongue Totems and Blood Mage Thanos. Everything else is way too expensive.
Feral Spirit is pretty good in here. Oh my god, he gets a Force of Nature.
Yikes. Well, you know, it's good to have the combo if you're ever searching for it, but it's still a little early. Reynad would like to have something like the Ancient of Lore
to
follow up. Yep.
He can still draw into it. Well, right now it's like he plays Lothab, he plays Argent Squire, and pass. I mean, he can attack into one of the wolves, but it's not good. And we know that there is the Flame Tongue Totem, which is actually a minion, and will do a lot of damage.
He saves the Argent Squire, by the way.
Why would you do that? Do you feel like Lightning Storm is... Are you playing around Lightning Storm?
No, Lightning Storm can't even be played with Lothab, increasing the mana cost.
So why not? Why not dropping it right now? It's like... Late game, it's not a good card.
That is really curious. I think you're right. And if he picks up Ancient of Lore, he can't drop that either.
Yeah, so card is actually dead, and then it will be well, maybe he's thinking about turn 8 and like setting up Argent Squire for the combo turn 9. It's like Argent Squire turn 8, which is hard to remove basically.
You haven't done a single point of damage to your opponent. I don't know if you can actually get away with using the combo to end the game in 3 turns, especially when you're using Flame Tongue number 2 for value trades. Sorry, Lothab, you're just gonna die to a couple totems and a Spirit Wolf.
Well, what can you do?
Deal with that.
Do you kill the 2/2 or attack face? I guess you can attack face.
I think it accomplishes the same thing. There's no other optimal trade. I think you're okay with it trading into the taunt totem.
Oh, a swipe. Does it change much? Because I was thinking about Force of Nature here.
Well, swipe allows him to go for a full board clear, so it does
I'll
change,
see.
and he's able to put down the Argent Squire now. So
Yeah,
it
it's
all
a
works out in the end.
pretty good card to get, actually. I was thinking about losing Force of Nature before, like, without swipe, so it was pretty bad for him. But now it actually looks good.
Again, maybe Reynad has his reasons of why he didn't play his Argent Squire that we can't find at the moment, but because he didn't, he essentially missed 1 damage because he had the opportunity the previous turn. I'm very curious why he didn't play it.
I guess you can ask him after the show.
I guess I could. I have the luxury of being able to do that.
So right now, being lucky, you probably just play minions. You don't have the with Rockbiter. You're pretty set for the Alakir top deck and the future, but now you just, I guess, stabilize kind of. Using Lightning Storm, I don't know. Do you airshock the 1/1?
I like playing the Thalnos just because you want to cycle through. By that, you might just kind of toss it out and see how it feels. Your hand's not looking that good, so you need to kind of develop into something else better. Maybe pick up an Azure Drake. He has Spectral Knight. He also has things like Fire Elemental that he still hasn't curved into yet.
I guess airshock and Defender of Argus should be cool.
I wouldn't mind. But he doesn't have the mana for everything. He's just going to use the Thalnos and go for the Earthshock immediately. Maybe get some more run out of Thalnos so that way he protects it slightly better.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like facing 1 Argent Squire is not that scary. And next turn is turn 8, so...
Whoa, we forgot about that card because we haven't seen it from Reynad in a while because it is token. It makes sense for a long time because Scenarios does give that +2/+2 buff, so it's 2 Power of the Wilds and 1 attached to a 5/8 body.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice card to drop next turn to build up the board and then follow up on turn 10 with the combo.
There you go. So as much as his token druid sometimes whiffs in the late game draws, Reynad does have a way to reload the board. Now, Lucky does have Lightning Storm, so if he picks up something like Hex, then he's able to answer immediately and swat it down once again, and Reynad will be back at square one.
Yeah, on the other hand, like I don't like Lucky's hand that much. Innervate is kind of like a dead card for now. I guess you drop Scenarios and double trends. It's like you just develop the board because why not?
Well, you play into Lightning Storm, Hex Lightning Storm.
Yeah, but what else can you do? Like, using the combo doesn't make any sense.
Well, +2/+2 on the Argent Squire, and you pick up an immediate trade on, say, the Thalnos.
Then you're vulnerable to
Hex. Almost the same exact thing. Yeah, you're still vulnerable to Hex either way. Like, Hex Lightning Storm is what you're weak against regardless, so I think Reynad has to kind of commit to this.
I feel you can still kill Thalnos anyway. You can innervate Hero Power and kill Thalnos with a Hero Power and a 1/1.
Sure.
That should be good, because then you also like play kind of like around Lightning Storm.
Yep. Well, he really hopes his opponent doesn't have the 2-card combo to completely wipe his board once again.
Second Lightning Storm.
And a Fire Elemental, which might be able to do it anyways. I think if you Fire Elemental plus Lightning Storm, you should be able to go for a board clear.
That's enough for sure. Like,
yes.
Even if he like hits low and gets 2 points of damage on Scenarios, it's still good.
And in fact, it might be even better because Hex didn't really develop anything on the board, and now he has a 6/5 as the lone representative for Shaman, and I think that's going to be a little bit difficult for Reynad to deal with unless he draws something immediately to answer it, like a swipe, or he might be forced to just take some damage over the course of a few turns.
We have a high hit, so he will be able to keep the taunt, which is also pretty important.
That's annoying. That is really annoying. Karen. Whoa, Karen is nice, though. Still, he's going to be taking damage over the course of a few turns. See what luck he draws. Haunted Creeper's not that great. But it's something.
Yeah, it's something that he can actually play and deal damage as well. I feel like he has to ignore Karen and just go full aggro. He has potential +6 damage in his hand. Now +7.
I think so. If you draw into Doomhammer or Alakir, you're almost certain to just win the following turns. I think you ignore Karen. This is where something like the Taunt Totem living actually is just that much more annoying for Reynad to have to deal with.
Oh
So
yeah,
that high roll in the
certainly.
Lightning Storm is really important.
Also, it's important to realize who's the aggressor here in this match. Like, who's dealing damage, who's defending. Druid of the Claw is a nice pickup, but it's not enough.
Is Reynad forced to use combo here if he feels like he's on the verge of lethal?
How much damage is there? It's 8 +6, it's 14. It's actually 50. If he does nothing, it's lethal. But he'll definitely like kill the totem.
Possibly. He already used one copy of Savage Roar. Maybe he uses his one copy of Force of Nature, and he potentially still has the big Wombo combo.
Well, and what's annoying for him for sure is that he can't play the Druid and the combo at the same turn, like Force plus Druid. But how do you even clear it? If you play Force, you kill the totems. That's fine. You can kill the spider, and probably kill one of the spiders with with Shapeshift. But then you face a 6/5 and a 1/1, and are not improving. It's like your winning strategy is kind of slipping because now you're defending. You're in a very weird spot where you try to defend yourself, where Shaman is just pushing with cards and like has initiative, has the totems, has everything.
Well, time's running out once again.
Roped.
And ticking down. Reynad's gotta do something. He can't just sit passively. He's gonna use Savage Roar #2 and go for some trades and try as best as he can to seize back the board by force. Now keep in mind, Doomhammer draw is still lethal. Well,
Oh my god,
man,
double
we get
Rock
double
Biter.
Rock Biter.
But still, the Reynad play was pretty good. He ensured that the board is kind of clear, like a 1/2 spider is not that exciting, a 0/2 totem is not that exciting. He's seen both Flame totems before, both are removed, and he still has 15 points of health.
Oh
So
man, this lightning storm could be so big if he rolls high on something like the Druid of the Claw. And he's gonna go for it. Oh man, I feel like Reynad's kind of been getting these low rolls, or high rolls rather, but it seems like he's able to weather that storm. And the Druid of the Claw survives.
lucky for Reynad, first
Yeah,
time.
there we go. It's turning back a little bit. But he still rolled high on the Karen, or the Bane rather, and allows him to get the trade in that department. So it could have been a 4-2 remaining. So
Yeah,
he
this is
got a
pretty
50-50
important.
split on that.
Well, right now Lucky is staring at like 9 + 3, 12, potential 12 points of damage going up from him. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's in a really good position here, being Lucky, but do you remove the Druid?
Ancient of Lore, hold that thought. We might have an opportunity to completely swing this game back in Reynad's favor. He does have Harvest Golem, so he can push back on the
Oh
board.
my god, there is
And
Alak
squeeze
here.
in damage. Oh, but he's Alec here, but he doesn't have enough mana to use his Rock Biter with it.
But he can
And there's
potentially
the
clear
Black
the
Knight.
board.
He has the Black Knight. Wait, can
There's the
Reynad
Black
pull
Knight.
this back? If for some reason Lucky's not able to utilize his burst,
I don't think. Wait.
because he has 10 damage from hand plus the 3 right now, so he's got 13.
Wait. This is tricky.
Yeah. He's looking at a lot of damage on the backswing too, because there's, let's see, 9, 11. Well, he's going to most likely trade, but say he left it alone and he went all for phase. That is playing with fire, that's for sure.
Being Lucky, do you just try to clear, kind of? You've seen Savage. You've seen double Savage Roar. Like, if you really count the cards, you know the Savage Roar is out of the question. Like, there's no more. So you want to.
I think you're kind of okay with giving up a Rock Biter here.
You can actually, like,
Or a Lightning Bolt, either one.
I feel like you have to get use Rock Biter, and then next turn you'll be able to Rock Biter Lightning Bolt for exactly 15 points of damage.
but then he might heal up with hero power. And so you're kind of playing with that in motion. He's going to use Lightning Bolt, which means he's only relegated to use one Rock Biter anyways. So he saves the Rock Biter. In case he draws something like Doomhammer, a swipe to potentially swing the board. Oh, and Reynad's going to drop the Alec here, but he's going to immediately... Oh no, because of the sequencing, he's taking a little bit extra damage. The Alec here does allow him to put 12 more damage though. Let's see.
Alec here is so powerful.
He just dropped the Black Knight.
But do you really use Alec here? You can actually...
I don't think so.
You can even
double
play
Rock Biter, do you? Don't you?
Yeah, but you can play only one. So you can deal like 6, 12 points of damage. He's going for the Alec here.
Face? Do you go for trades?
I guess, because if you deal 12, your opponent, even after Shapeshift, his opponent is vulnerable to Rockbiter, but he actually trades. Oh, Ancient of Lore.
Oh, and he does have Ancient of Lore, but keep in mind, he also has ways to remove this Alec here. And Lucky still can draw on something like Doomhammer and end the game, but Reynad's not out of it yet.
Yeah, he's still fighting. Lucky still has his Azure deck, which is pretty big because he will be able to draw a card. It's like draw 2 cards next turn. And Reynad is dropping really low in here.
Whoa.
Oh, he's actually getting damage.
Even more ballsy, trying to be as efficient as possible.
That's it. That's 6 points of
damage. Oh no,
damage.
Lucky draws the Lightning Bolt, and because Reynad took that extra damage, he ends up losing the game right here. So his gamble didn't pay off, because maybe he could have done something with Ancient of Lore to bounce him back in, but this game is now over.
That was a lucky draw.
Drop game 3.
That was a lucky draw.
Oh man. And I can already sense a little bit of the PJ Salts raining down in the chat and maybe Reynad feels like it's going to be a desperate situation for him if he can't get an early lead. Is this how he's going to go out 0-3? We'll find out. I don't know. Lucky's been doing pretty well. He's impressing, and he's on the verge of qualifying to the next round. And remember, he's a guy that qualified from the open bracket. He's a high legend player, but he's not on a team that's well known. He doesn't have many practice partners. I'm reading that he peaked at number 7 legend. That was the highest he finished. And he finished overall in Season 2 at number 40. So he does have respectable ladder skills, and he's bringing it here in the tournament.
Oh yeah, definitely Lucky is one of the top players coming from the open bracket, and it's a good story as well. Like anybody could actually participate and then be here in Lucky's place.
I think so. You know, he has a Hex. That's a great tool for the hand lock.
Lucky got kind of unlucky without a coin, right?
Yes, I'm just listening to you constantly trying to use his name and how he's being able to draw.
The puns. The puns are flowing.
Yes.
So being Reynad, Ancient Watcher, Sun Fury Protector. Well, I'm not sure about those Twilight Drakes. It's like, do you want to get Twilight Drake being a handlock, or you don't?
You probably do and you don't.
Probably if you get Twilight Drake, you want to get both of them, because you can like play first, bait out the Earthshock, and then play a second one. And if you're really normally there is no second Earthshock.
Wow, Reynad's coining out the Ancient Watcher with no silence or anything, so he's going to play the Sun Fury immediately. And this is kind of a different take on Handlock's passive early game, and you realize you don't have any indication of a turn 4 play, so you just go for something more aggressive.
Do you like it? It's like, I don't really like it. This hand is super weird. And not getting any life taps.
I don't know. He's playing also so quick. I don't even think he was able to see the Sludge Belcher. At least we didn't see it. So maybe Reynad's a little bit playing quickly because he just wants this to be over. I'm not sure. You can't really judge based off of this small POV. Meanwhile, on Lucky's POV, he does have good removal options. He has the Earthshock, he has the Hex. So no matter what kind of big creature comes out, he should be able to deal with it initially.
Well, he didn't play the Feral Spirit here. Interesting. Like, why would not play the Feral Spirit? Maybe he's just waiting for... I don't even know. Like, normally you would probably keep Hex to deal with something, but there's nothing.
And Feral Spirits is so powerful on turn 3. But maybe he doesn't want his opponent to do something weird like silence his Ancient Watcher anyways and attack and get really good value, and he can't even answer it.
Yeah, like would you be? I would say like maybe he was afraid of Shadow Flame, but on the other hand, your opponent just used coin and he only has
Yeah,
3 points of mana, so it wasn't that turn. Right now, playing Feral Spirit is kind of playing into like Hellfire or Shadow Flame,
sure.
but on the other hand, like just playing a Totem that doesn't achieve anything. And next turn, you definitely don't want to play Feral Spirit because you will overload and you won't be able to play with Fire Elemental. Oh, he gets a Spectral Knight. This is huge.
Yeah, this is nice. So that way he's able to play a respectable minion. It can't be answered easily by handlock. And he gives him something to do and sets it up so that way he doesn't have to use his mana awkwardly to set up for Fire Elemental.
Suddenly, his hand looks actually pretty nice with Spectre Knight, who is hard to answer. Then Fire Elemental as a follow up. Then on turn 7, he has all those different cards like Hexes, Air Shocks, Rockbiter, Feral Spirit to replenish the board if the board is being dealt with. Looks nice for the Shaman. Lothab turn. LOL Fab, turn 5. And a second
Why
Fire
not?
Elemental. Well,
Why
I
not?
guess.
Look at Lucky's hand. He can't really spend a lot of his hand removing, and because he's able to develop the board right here.
Couldn't he play like a Mountain Giant?
He could, but then if his opponent hexes, he might be. I don't know. I don't know. He could play the Mountain Giant though. You're right. He could have even tapped and played Mountain Giant. He still can next turn.
It seems like Lothab is not doing much in here. Do you still do you trade, by the way? Is he afraid
It's a
of the Shadow
different
Flame? I think
It's a
it's still
legitimate question. I don't know.
because if you are playing around Shadow Flame, then obviously it's hard. If you attack into 4/5 and kill it with Fire Elemental, and there is a Shadow Flame, you get 5 points of damage. But this is really weird.
Wow, that is really curious play. Because Shadow Flame, like you said, could destroy a lot. But that, the Spectral Knight again, 6 health, pretty clutch in this scenario. Reynad does have a Siphon Soul, by the way, so he can answer at least one of these threats and continue to kind of push. He also just has so many big minions here that he can kind of push it out over the course of a couple turns.
I think this game again stresses the strength from the Spectral Knight. How hard it is to deal with. It's like
Yeah, you can't Mortal Coil it.
you can basically only trade it with your minions, like attack into it, and all the cool synergies that all those decks possess, like Soulfires, like kill it with the Mortal Coil. Like even if normally you would Shadow Flame here and kill it with a Mortal Coil, you just can't, and it's like a 4/1 still. And the thing is, like a 4/6 and a 4/1 still has 4 attack and deals 4 damage. So it's really annoying card to deal with.
Absolutely. Reynad's going to tap, which heavily implies he wants to drop something like the Mountain Giant. And it does come out. So he's going to try to see what he can roll his luck, but we do know that Lucky has the Hex. Fortunately for Lucky, he has the Hex prepared since the beginning of the game.
Oh, how lucky is he? He was actually waiting patiently for that hex, like for
Sure,
that
he had
Mountain
double
Giant,
Hex in the opening hand, and he mulliganed one away.
which is fine. You want to have something to play before you get those hexes. He probably wants to have like 8 mana here to play Azuric and Hex, but Hex is obviously a card he needs to play. And then what do you do for 4 mana? I guess you can probably play Feral Spirit, kind of. What do you think about that 4/5 taunt? Is so annoying. It's do you
Yeah,
airshock it?
that early game play from Reynad has disrupted a lot of the plans. Lucky can't really press damage whatsoever without jeopardizing some of the health of his Spectral Knight and put it within AoE range.
Yeah, definitely we have to give it
That's so
Reynad.
amusing.
Like his play was so weird at the time, but then he just stopped the Shaman from dealing any damage. And on the other hand, and he's still playing like a handlock. Like he played Lothab, he played Mountain Giant. Like he has a lot of cards in his hand now, and it's turn 7, and the
Huh.
board state is kind of unclear. It's like being handlock. I think he looks good. 'Cause
Okay. It's not bad. He can play his Watcher as well. Silence it even next turn to give some more utility, or silence whatever comes out of his opponent, like an Nerubian Egg. And he still has some AoE with things like Hellfire. So if those spirits come out, then Reynad does have an answer. So it seems like we're finally seeing a state of the game where it's developing the board and seeing these guys kind of continue to put each other in check.
How do you react to this now? It's the 4/5 is still annoying, but you want to kill the 3/5, so maybe you will use Air Shock. Maybe you finally kill it with something. Like you can actually Air Shock and use a Rock Biter. That will be 2 points of mana. You are left with 6. And you can play Fire Elemental, I guess, and kill the 4/5. But there's still the threat of Shadow Flame is looming somewhere there.
Yeah, how much do you want to load it into the board and potentially overextend? And Spectre Knight is one of your defenses against things like the Shadow Flame, just like you mentioned. I think this Earth Shock is definitely a decent play to remove on the board, and again, make yourself resilient.
Maybe Lucky's planning to just develop the board and then be able to one-shot Reynad. Oh,
That also
Twilight
could be a
Drake.
possibility.
Twilight Drake draw after Airshock was used.
Okay, I like silencing the Ancient Watcher and start smacking back. He can also use Siphon Soul to start striking back and forcing the Spectral Knight again in a tough position. The Spectral Knight is doing work on the handlock in the sense he can't use his spells, but also he's done nothing. This is the most passive Spectral Knight ever. He deserves to have his title stripped from him. He's not a knight. He's afraid to attack into a statue.
You're right. Like this Spectral Knight, if Lucky would actually kill the 4/5 when Spectral Knight was played, Spectral Knight will be doing so much work in here. Or it will actually force Hellfire before. Like the game would be so much different. But this Spectral Knight is kind of like in a checkmate position with the 4/5. And Reynad is fine with it. Like I'm sure Reynad is totally fine with that.
Well, let's see what he draws off of his Azure Drake. I think those are both fire elementals too, right? So you're talking about setting up to one-shot your opponent, but having big creatures like the fire elemental potentially racking in that damage does lessen that kind of game plan.
And he gets the Flametongue Totem. I'm sure he really wanted to get that Flametongue Totem a couple of turns before. Now he still can use it to kill the 4/5.
But it plays into the Shadow Flame, like we're kind of mentioning. He can use a Rock Biter here also if he wants to.
I guess he's keeping it for... I think this was a misplay.
Wait, this is really weird order. But I guess he wants to use his removal.
Oh my god, have you seen that? Instead of like Rock Bitering his totem, he actually took 4 points of damage. Yeah. I guess he's getting generous here.
That was a little bit rushed because I think of the rope. That definitely was not the right order to play it. Regardless, now he's moving on. He's still finally being able to address the board, but now Hellfire and Spectre Knight has been cleared despite only attacking into an Ancient Watcher. So,
and suddenly
as much as he struggled for 4 turns, nothing happened.
Yeah. Suddenly it looks really good for Reynad with the board clear, a lot of health, a lot of good cards in his hand. And Lucky, being a shaman, he has no board. And being a shaman, you really need a board. Like a lot of cards actually interact with the board. He can play a couple of cards here. He can play Unbound Feral Spirit, Defender Vargas, but still, there are still removal cards in Handlock. So if Reynad gets a second copy of Hellfire or his copy of Shadow Flame, then he will be able to clear the board again.
Yeah, I think so. And then just keep resetting Shaman's board, which is effectively never allows him to get any value. And that's where things like Haunted Creeper feel so pitifully weak, where they can't do much. Like he's going to go for Feral Spirits. But again, just like you said, if Reynad's able to deal with this immediately, and the fact that his opponent already used 1 Earth Shock, I think he's going to be happy to see this Drake has lived.
Yeah, Lucky has to do something.
What a way to rebound. Shaman had a board clear. Now they have 5 minions on the board with a 3/5 and a couple of 2/3s.
Yeah, with a Devourer as well. Yeah. But on the other hand, there is a Shadow Flame.
Can he
actually use the Shadow Flame here to clear?
With the Ironbeak Owl, I think you can. But I think he's also going to play it a little bit slower. Doesn't want to kind of overcommit here. Because if a Shadow Flame on the Ironbeak Owl means you're kind of committing to this Twilight Drake to seize control of the board.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like he will have to use Iron Beak with Power of Overwhelming Shadow Flame, 7 points of mana. That will be a nice clear. Also, silencing the 1/2. But he can
Also,
play it
something
slowly.
to he does have Faceless and Power Overwhelming as well. So maybe if he gets a Shadow Flame without having to use his Power Overwhelming, then somehow he draws into Leroy in the next couple of turns. He has damage to potentially end the game with Soulfire and full combo. So Reynad might be playing into the win condition in the next couple of turns. Depends on how things develop.
Well, if he gets Leroy next turn, he's winning the game exactly at that point. Like he's winning next turn. Like he only needs Leroy because he will be able to clear the
Hmm.
taunts, and he has exactly 24 points of damage with
Exactly.
Leroy.
Now, Lucky unfortunately didn't roll a spell power totem because he would have dropped the Thanos and lightning bolted the Drake. And now he's forced with a tough decision. And Lucky kind of showed a little bit that he was rattled with his previous play. Maybe he's, again, trying to take time to really evaluate his plays, but will it be costing him? I think this Sunwalker is perfectly okay killing off one of the taunts as well.
He will definitely play Argus here. Like you have
Mhm.
to.
Oh no!
Oh
Oh no! He
wait.
ran out of time. Oh
So is
no!
there
This
a
could have been
Leroy?
a complete disaster. And if he draws Leroy, oh, he
Okay, it's not
hasn't.
Leroy.
But that could have been a complete destruction of like a breakdown. Like I even couldn't believe Lucky very clearly wanted to do something to continue his board. Because Defender of Argus needs to improve value or even drop Thanos because you're more resilient to AoE. But as a result, he didn't do anything. He froze.
He got roped.
Yes.
This is
And you know what?
tough.
That was weird because it looked like he had a couple seconds left, but it suddenly just ended for him in a kind of like a jerky reaction. So maybe Lucky lagged a little bit, and if so, that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, but it happens that I guess that you have to really play just a bit faster to avoid the rope. Like the rope is a part of the game. It's also well, some players will probably dislike the fact that rope is influencing the game because they are used to like Magic the Gathering or like World of Warcraft TCG where you have all the
Mhm.
time in the world almost to make your turn and decision. Here in Hearthstone, you really have to think fast. Like you have to make the plays fast. You have to account for the animations of the game. This is part of the skill as well.
By the way, a great board clear once again with Reynad using the Mortal Coil and the Shadow Flame on the farce here, and now a clear board is a dangerous situation for Lucky. He dropped down the Drake as fast as he could, but he top decked the Unbound Elemental, and that is not a Hex or a Earth Shock. And he knows that he could be sitting at a potential fatality the next turn if his opponent draws into like
Oh man,
Leroy because he's been saving
Leroy,
the comp for a long time.
Leroy is still lethal.
He hasn't seen faces. He hasn't seen power overwhelming. All right. Well,
Oh my
Leroy
god,
has
he gets the
finally
Leroy.
arrived, one card off from being in the proper turn, but I think Reynad still
Is it
has
lethal?
this. Is
Wait,
he? Does he
maybe
have lethal right here? Let's see.
it might be, yeah. It's like 8, um, 10, 14, 18. Oh my god, he's 1 damage
No,
off lethal.
no, don't say it. Reynad is one damage off of lethal.
Oh
Story
man,
of
this
his
is
life,
sick.
at least at this tournament.
But actually, like, Lucky doesn't have a good situation here. Like, even though Reynad is 1 damage of lethal, there is nothing Lucky can do to follow up, I guess. Even if he gets an Alak here, top deck, that's not enough.
Yep. I think it makes sense. Drop the Molten Giant, go for a little bit of the board control, try to deny your opponent any ability to potentially get through and win the game. I actually wouldn't have been mad at the double taunt, so that way he can prevent his opponent from being able to use like an Earth Shock and burst through with something weird. Lucky's going to try to draw to see what he gets off of the Thalanos, and he gets a Lightning Storm, which unfortunately, again, it didn't line up so that way he could have used a spell power.
Yeah,
He
but
might
it
have to get
doesn't.
lucky here.
Definitely, he has to get lucky here. But on the other hand, like, what can he do? It's like Reynad has a pretty strong board, and he has potentially 24 points of damage in his hand, even with a clear
Yeah.
board.
And unfortunately, because he didn't get spell power, there's no way to potentially clear the board. He
And lucky,
rolled
unlucky draw.
low. Yeah, on everything. That's too bad.
Oh man,
And that's going to be game number 4. Reynad ties it up with a really tough matchup for Handlock, honestly. And he's able to send it to game 5 into a matchup that maybe he favors, with Miracle Rogue being Lucky's last line of defense.
This is so...
Squeeze it out because of it. And a lot of people wouldn't make that play. And now all of a sudden we're in a spot where game 5, he's up against the Miracle Rogue. And this is a tough matchup for Miracle unless Handlock draws poorly or Miracle gets the absolute most perfect hand.
And once again, guys, this game is about Lucky and Forsen. If Reynad wins, Forsen will advance to the top 4. If Lucky wins, Lucky will advance to the top 4. Reynad is fighting for glory and honor, and if he wins, then he helps Forsen, gets the glory, gets an honor. If he loses, he gets a Salt Shaker, and it will be tough for him, I guess.
He gets the participation award, and at least he didn't go out completely flailing and losing a series. And I think he's demonstrated some pretty good play throughout the rest of the day. It just feels like he's got the unfortunate ends of the stick. He draws into double Twilight Drake, though. That's great.
Yeah, that's perfect. You really want to have the Drakes and Mountain Giants really early. Also, he has a Farseer. If he feels like it, he can play Farseer to get into more aggressive mode. It's like, even if you play Twilight Drake after playing Farseer, it's still a formidable card with a lot of health and hard to deal with. Lucky, on the other hand, doesn't have a Gadgets and Auctioneer. He has a coin. He doesn't have Backstep. And he has Cold Blood, the one copy of Cold Blood that he's playing, and that's actually good versus Handlock.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it isn't. Because if he's able to kind of play something like the Twilight Drake out, and he doesn't have anything on the board, and he has Soulfire, then all of a sudden you still have no target for Cold Blood. So as much as it's really important, I know you really like this card, sometimes it doesn't work out in the way you want it to.
Oh yeah, obviously. It's like kind of like a double-edged card. It's, sometimes it's just useless, but personally I like it. It's like a more aggro card.
Get ready for 3 powerful turns, Lucky, because you're in for quite the ride. Twilight Drake into Sunwalker, and I don't know what you can do. Maybe there's even ways to completely heal the Drake and continue to be a nuisance with things like Farseer.
By the way, this is the perfect turn for the Cold Blood. You can start with Fun of Knives, and then Cold Bloods, and then attack into the Drake and kill it with a weapon as well. Take 4 damage, but still you clear a very tough minion to kill.
I think so. Cold Blood is usually the damage that you need anyways. It's acting as a 1 mana eviscerate, so I like using it in this regard. It's very flexible.
But still, Lucky's hand is pretty good if you have an Auctioneer, but without Auctioneer it's kind of pitiful.
Oh wow, Mountain Giant off the top. Reynad's gonna do a lot of damage with this one, but he knows, or his opponent does have eviscerates, double eviscerates. It's gonna cost a lot of resources.
And an SA7 as well. But yeah, on the other hand, like, you're just dealing with those big threats, but what's next? It's like you just throw those eviscerates and Cold Bloods into those giants, and how do you kill your opponent after that? How do you actually replenish your hand?
One thing that's nice is Handlock eventually drains itself down, but when you have this nice of a hand, I don't foresee Reynad tapping for a while. Plus he has Leroy and ways to damage with like Power Overwhelming and Hellfire. So if this Mountain Giant is able to sneak in damage, which it looks like it won't, at least for this turn, if Reynad can push other things like the Twilight Drake out, he can end the game if Miracle Rogue is sitting at a pretty low life.
Yeah, like Reynad's hand is so good with the Sunwalker next turn, then Twilight Drake and Farseer. Wow. So many options.
He has to use the Shadow Step with the SI7 for removal, and that way he's not overcommitting with double Eviscerate. This is so painful.
Oh my god.
For the Miracle Rogue, and Reynad is salivating at the opportunity to drop yet another big threat.
Yeah, this is exactly what we talked about before as well. It's like, You have so many good taunts, so many good cards. It's you're just exhausting the removal on the other hand on the other side, and also Lucky gets a backstab. But in this matchup, you really want to have like a Thalnos or a Azure Drake to be able to just squeeze in a bit of more points of damage here. With Azure Drake, for example, like Viscera will be able to kill the 4/5 in one go, but here he will have to spend so many cards, like even maybe attack with a weapon into the 4/5. Like
I don't know. I
backstab,
don't even know about, using all of that in order to remove the giant. I mean, obviously the giant's a priority, but the Shadow Step does represent damage as well, and you might have to start thinking about how you can win the game. It seems like he's playing to clear the level, and that's about it. Like, okay, I can survive this level, but how does it keep? If it keeps getting harder, what do I do?
Where's the final boss?
The final boss is Leroy. We all know that. With the with the Soul Fire, by the way, he's able to kind of clear the board yet again, and you're back to square one. He loses an Iron Beak out, which is the card that he didn't care about anyways, because he has two.
Totally didn't matter. It was a lucky discard.
Backstab draw.
Oh my god, this hand is so bad. It's like double preparation backstab. I guess you just backstab the 3/3, attack into it, and sap the 4/10. You didn't even sap. Just pass.
You hero power first, though, after you attack. At least do this, Lucky. We're not sure if necessarily all of the decisions in terms of removal could be agreed upon, but we do know that you haven't gotten the luckiest with this opening hand. Sap on the Azure Drake, I think, does 1 or 2 damage to it. That's about it.
Yeah, I don't like the sap in here. It's as you said, it's kind of like he's clearing those levels. And you will get stopped at some point.
It's starting to bleed through. It's like those tower defense games where finally they start breaking through. You can't hold it off. You need to spend some money on those microtransactions to beat this mobile game.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the only way to beat some of these tower defense games, I swear. I can't win any other way.
So would you say like Lothab is well paid, I guess?
Yeah.
It's a legendary card. Must be expensive.
700 gold.
You know what would be funny? If he would actually get at the Gadgetzan auctioneer right now, at this moment, and like wouldn't be able to even use those preparations. Oh man.
Nope, he gets Fan of Knives. 8 mana cost Fan of Knives. Is that the definition? Is that the quintessential cool story bro card or what? Like Fan of Knives on this board. Leroy, I think that's it. Leroy, power overwhelming, Hellfire. Reynad has claimed 1 series in this tournament and has denied Lucky the ability to advance to the top 4, as Forsen will be advancing.
Congrats to both players. Like a really good series, nice games, and I guess